This is the Dreamweaver certification review. In this video, we're going to go ahead and just discuss a few things that you might see on the certification test, and if anything, just jog your memory to kind of help you remember some things. Before we begin, let's go ahead and talk about some testing tips. I will tell you that this test can be kind of glitchy. It's not actually running Dreamweaver, it's a Flash-based animation, so clicking might not be exact. There's some limits to the test. Just note that some of the testings are going to be glitchy, and you have the option to go ahead and reset the question as many times as you need to. Sometimes you're going to have a hard time again selecting things. Oftentimes you're going to want to do a certain task a certain way, and it's not going to let you. You're going to have to find the other way to do it. There are multiple ways to do the same steps. Just think it through. I'm a right clicker. Oftentimes you'll be able to right click your mouse on the task to do what you need to do. Most of the questions are in split view. If you look here at my screen, there's the properties panel down here. That's going to be docked at the bottom of your screen. If you don't know the question, that's okay. Mark it for review and move on. If you have time at the end of the test, then go back and work on those questions you weren't sure of. And ultimately, don't give up. Some of the questions are going to trip you up. It's okay. But don't give up. Keep working through it. Do the best that you can. That's all anybody can ask. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the things you might see on this test. Let's go ahead and open up. We'll do contact us. I think that's a good way to start. And you're going to have lots of questions at the top mostly about things that it wants you to do. Sometimes it'll be step questions like insert a picture. Other times it might be a question about what's the importance of fonts, or the HTML or the font tag. We know that it's a depreciated tag that in HTML5. So you're going to get both types of questions. Let's go ahead and talk about updating a picture. So we have this picture of this lady, and down here at the bottom in our properties panel, we have the alt text here. But if I just wanted to change this, I could do this lady, and we'll click off of it. Now the alt text for that image is there. All we did was in our properties panel update that. Remember that when you're typing in text, that spelling does matter. So if it's capitalized, make sure you do the capitalization on that. If we wanted to resize an image, that's also easy to do. This may or may not need to be checked, but if I do this to 300, notice her image gets bigger. And I have to confirm that change, we'll click OK. Now that's 300. We'll change it back to 150, and she looks normal again. And one other thing that you might need to do is be able to replace this image. So there's two ways to do this. Again, I'm a right clicker, so you can right click the image here. And what I need to, it's because I'm in live view. Note that you might need to sometimes change it to design view. If it doesn't work the first time like that, change your view from live to design, or from design to live. But often you can change the source file from here is what I was looking for. If I wanted to change this to Eric, notice his picture changes. But I can also do this here in the properties panel. If I click this, I can change it back to Elaine. So just remember your properties panel. Let's talk about adding a link to people. You can select your text in the file, and then you can type the link here. But if you're in live view, that properties opportunity does not exist. You're going to see a little bit differently. So if you're on live view, you just double click your text until you get this, and you could type in here. If it was a web link, we could do mail to, and I'll move my cursor so you can see it, mail to, and the colon, and then you would do, I see that at greenstar.org. Now that's an email address. Maybe I wanted to make this an email or a web link. Again, see how it's grayed out down here, so I can't key it in here, but I can just type in www.hello.com. I don't know if that's a real website, but now that's a web link. You also have the ability, and live view only, you can do bold and italics as well. And again, if you don't have the options that you think you should have, change the from live to design. You get a lot more options here. I can do my link here. Just remember that. Let's talk about adding a file to favorites. We're here in the panels, and we have the assets here at the bottom. If it's not open, remember you can open it from Windows, and then you just need to click Assets. Anytime it says open this window and you don't see it, just go here. Okay? And from here, if I like this picture of Elaine, maybe I want to make her it a favorite of mine. I'm going to use this picture all the time. If I go to the bottom, I can click here, click Add to Favorites. And now if I click here, notice that she is a favorited picture. And you can do that to colors, you can do that to all kinds of things. So it's down here at the bottom. Let's talk about, we're going to go ahead and define a new site. So there are lots of ways to do this. You can click this Manage Sites and do it. You can do it from up here. We'll click a new site. And what I want you to see on this is not this so much as I want you to know that there are advanced settings. So if I start talking about cloaking, okay, from here I can do cloaking. Maybe it's web fonts or animation assets. Note that it's in the advanced settings from the managed sites. Note that that exists. I just wanted to show you that. Let's go ahead and we'll close out of this just so you can, we don't need to say that. So it might ask you to go ahead and create a brand new website. You can do that a number of ways. You might see this screen, but you also might need to just click File and click New, which you should be familiar with. And you can go ahead and create new. And then as far as saving goes, you just click File, Save As. And it should bring you to that same folder that you already have all your stuff in. So make sure it takes you to where you need to be. If not, make sure you map it to Documents or wherever folder it tells you to save the HTML file. Let's talk about workspaces. So this is part of our workspace. This is part of our workspace. Maybe I want to pull my files panel down to here. I can do that. I undocked it, but you can see I can just click and drag it over. Maybe I need to move the assets over here. You can do a lot of things. Maybe I need to open up the DOM, which is already open. Note the window here works. Know how to move the panels around. And if it tells you to change the workspace, that's easy. You can do that from up here. I can change it to extract. I can change it to design. All of those things are options to me. And then it might say create a new workspace. That's easy to do after you make these changes. Just click New Workspace. We'll type in Mr. Sinclair. Click OK. And then, or maybe it has you make those changes and it wants you to save. We can click Save Current. And then one other thing I want you to see is, well, two other things. If we have, let's go back to Design, and maybe we move this up here. So if we click Reset Design, it'll put everything back in its design order that it's custom to. So, and then one other thing is you might need to sync. I'm not going to do this because I don't have my account linked to this, but if I click that, it can sync my settings. Again, be familiar with the DOM panel. We haven't done a lot in this class with it, but it is there. It shows you the outline. You can move things around if you need to. You're going to probably get a question about it, and note that live view has nothing to do with this. It's one of those weird things. Be familiar with the properties panel. I love the properties panel. If we have a website open, which we will go ahead and open up, you get a lot here. You can see things. You can change the class. You can open up the page properties. This is a big thing. You're going to see this multiple times on the test. Note that the page properties here exist. You can change things like the fonts here, the font family. You could change this number to 500, the weight here. You can do all kinds, change it to normal. You can change the text color, the size, the background color. You can do all kinds of things. Background image, links, colors, your heading for your CSS, all kinds of stuff. Be familiar with this. Let's talk about adding a web form. So we have this empty sheet right here. And if I'm on the Insert tab, now I'm here, this might be grayed out on the test. You might not have options to this panel. Note that you can also do it from here, up here at the top. And if I'm doing a form, note that this form exists here. And I can add things. Maybe I'm adding a URL. Notice it does that. Just so we're on the Insert tab, we're on Form now, I can change it back to HTML. Maybe you need to, put in a text box and an email, and let's put a password in. And then if it says change the max length on your password, if you put your cursor here in this area, down here at the bottom, I have things like size, I have max length, I can put value in, I can put it as a required field, I can change the name of it to code, I don't know. There are all kinds of things that you could do to put things in here, your class here, maybe we want to make it weird looking. There's lots of settings here. Make sure you're familiar with this. And just so you know, unlike this password form, let's just pretend that that's a question and you had to do a max length. Because it's not the actual program, if you click in the wrong spot, it just might not let you put it in. So if you're not sure where to put it, sometimes just clicking around will help tell you where you need to put that information. We talked about that, on this form. I just want to show you one other thing. There's a lot of things in here. We could do a button. We could do a submit button. We could reset button. A lot of things, a radial button. Lots of things to look at. Make sure you're familiar with that. Let's talk about modifying fonts. So fonts there's a lot of ways to do this. Let's go back to our contact us here. And if we put our cursor in this area, we have page properties. I told you about this. It's in the appearance. I can change my font families. Click apply, click OK. So make those changes. You can also do it from the edit preferences here. Note that this exists, the edit preferences. You get a lot of these like fonts. If you're not sure, don't be afraid to dig around. Don't be afraid to dig around. Let's go ahead and this is right now a heading 1. We can change this to heading 2. Notice it changes. We can change the class on this. Maybe we want, and if you have to change a class, it's probably going to be a custom class. It's going to have a weird name. But don't be afraid to dig around in this list. So I don't know. Maybe it's the alert danger. Look how weird that looks. But you could do that on the CSS part of this. You could change the color. I don't know. Maybe we like this weird green. We can click that. We can change the font. We can make it bold. We could key in a color. Make sure you put the pound sign if you do. You can change the size, left, right, justified. Note that all of this is here. If you're not sure, just mark it for review and move on. But note you can do that. Let's go ahead and go back to this table over here. Actually, let's go ahead and just create a new site. It'll be a little bit easier. You should be familiar with inserting tables, right? So again, I did this from the insert HTML, but you can also do it from the insert tab here at the top, and we'll go ahead and just do that. That's fine. And if you're in live view, you don't have the same editing options as you would if you're in design view, so don't be afraid to flip back and forth. If I needed to merge these cells, I could. In design view, it's easy. I just select those, and I click this little button right here. Maybe this is our header row. I could do that. I could change the wrap settings. Again, properties panel is going to be your best friend on a question like this. Changing your table percentage. So if we need to change the percentage here, we could click in here, and my screen is glitching. To change the percentage, we could do that. We could, in here, click the PX and change it to percentage, and then just type in your stuff here. You have the left, center, right align. All of those are options for you. We are going to go ahead and insert a text file. We're in Dreamweaver. Currently my cursor is between the last paragraph in this table, and there are a few ways that I can do this. I can go to the files panel over here, and I can actually just click my text file and drag it over, which gives me these options here. Maybe I only want the text. Maybe I want to create a link. That way if the file updates, it'll go ahead and update along with it. That's an easy way to do it. If that doesn't allow you to do it that way, you might just need to change your view from design to live, or from live to design. Sometimes options just aren't available in one specific view, so you just need to change. The other way that you can do it is go to the file here at the top, click import, and then you have the Word document, and you have whatever you want to do. We could import the syllabus here, and it will paste that here into the document.